A
great deal of work is underway to develop new systems to counter next-generation unmanned aerial vehicles. The head of state, Vladimir Putin, the defense ministry, the governors, and the industry are all devoting a great deal of attention to this. Putin's Russia is said to be working around the clock to neutralize the next generation of UAVs as the drone war enters a dangerous new phase. Russia says it is developing new systems to counter advanced drones, with a Putin aide pointing to an intensified military effort. Ukraine's drone warfare is taking a new turn as Putin appears to prepare a fresh counter to Zelensky's UAV campaign. Extensive work is reportedly underway under Putin's command as Moscow ramps up its anti-drone response after his sternest warning yet. A wide range of issues relating to all areas of security were discussed. It may sound a little jarring to our Russian ears, but the discussion covered non-traditional security risks and threats. Naturally, these include information security and cybersecurity. They include epidemics, and they include many other issues that have emerged particularly in recent times. These are risks relating to shortages of certain products. The discussion focused on general trends. This applies both to energy sources and to assessments of when and to what extent the shortfall that has arisen during this period will be made up. A proposal was put forward for a mechanism for such emergency operational consultations within the BRICS framework in the event of various kinds of emergencies and crises, such as this one. The conflict in the Middle East, so that we have designated, whether you call them authorized representatives or something else, but in any case, individuals who, at any time and within a very short time frame, can get in touch and hold consultations amongst themselves. If necessary, they can escalate the matter to the next level. And if agreement has already been reached at all levels, they can take it to the level of the heads of state, amongst others. We proposed this mechanism and discussed the details. Russia's second proposal is to build up reserves of various resources. These include hydrocarbons, as well as all the commodities that have been in short supply during the Gulf crisis. This refers to fertilizers, liquefied natural gas, and oil, among other things. Added to this are medicines and a whole host of other items, providing a unifying framework for the BRICS countries and enabling each to rely on these reserves. A great deal of work is underway to develop new systems to counter next-generation unmanned aerial vehicles. The head of state, Vladimir Putin, the defense ministry, the governors, and the industry are all devoting a great deal of attention to this. So I hope that as new projects and new systems are rolled out, the situation will naturally improve. As you know, nothing stands still, and that includes the enemy. If we're improving our defense systems, then naturally they are improving their attack systems. It is not a simple matter. It is a complex one, but work is underway, and believe me, it is active. In fact, active is probably an understatement. Work is being carried out across the board. All ministries, without exception, are involved, including the Energy Ministry and the Transport Ministry.
Today, Russian officers and soldiers are courageously and effectively performing their duties during the special military operation. They are liberating our historic lands and defending our people. I am confident that you will prove yourselves worthy of the honorable title of Russian officer and do your utmost to uphold the glorious traditions of our armed forces. I would like to emphasize in particular how important it is to continue to learn the achievements of military science and to develop professionally throughout your service. The prominent military theorist General Mikhail Dragomirov once said that a leader who is dedicated to their cause must keep learning, because without knowledge there can be no victories. Dear friends, you are about to begin your service and take command of military units, divisions, and formations during these challenging times. The current situation in the world is far from stable. Military confrontation in the Middle East continues unabated. The potential for conflict has risen significantly in a number of regions around the world, including in Eurasia. We see that if earlier NATO countries limited themselves to supporting the Kiev regime, which came to power through illegal armed means and a coup d'etat, They are now openly saying in the West that they are preparing for war with us and are increasing their defense budgets. To justify this spending and the radical militarization of their states, NATO and European Union leaders continue, as before, to resort to false claims about an alleged military threat from Russia. The modus operandi of the so-called democratic West is very simple. First, they create threats against our country, forcing us to take the necessary measures for self-defense and protection, and then immediately accuse us of all mortal sins to justify their continued aggressive policy and actions against Russia. We know this all too well. Even after the treacherous attack on the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, and it was indeed treacherous, the West, Hitler's Germany, attempted to accuse the USSR and Stalin of aggression against what we would today call the collective West. Surprisingly, this is still being discussed in quasi-scientific circles. I would like to emphasize that Russia has consistently advocated for equal and indivisible security for all. 318, we are convinced that this can only be achieved by establishing a multipolar system of international relations and reliably ensuring the military security of every state. At the same time, we are prepared to respond promptly and appropriately to any external or internal threats. In accordance with the state armaments program, the nuclear triad is being systematically modernized. I would like to emphasize that, since the start of the special military operation, there have been significant advances in many types of weaponry. I will mention just one figure. Last year, more than 1,000 types of weapons and equipment were tested in combat conditions, including unmanned aerial vehicles with advanced guidance systems and loitering munitions. It is important to continue supporting our troops as they carry out this special military operation, and to help strengthen security in Russia's liberated historic regions. I am confident that each and every one of you will do everything necessary to defend our homeland and ensure its prosperity. On the contrary, all those who want to establish normal relations with us, want to stop the endless race aimed at inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia, they are all those who want normal relations with us. I think that in the end it will work out that way. But so far they still have not gone so far as to launch something from their own territories. They do not understand that there will be a retaliatory strike. Because everyone understands or should understand. Therefore they are trying in every possible way to distance themselves from this. When in the Baltic countries, for example, there are some Ukrainian drones, they still do not point to the Moscow government. They say that these are Ukrainian drones. A mistake, a system failure, work something else. But so far they still have not gone so far as to use their own territory directly, although they are placing military production there. And, of course, all the weapons are flowing in a huge stream into the combat zone. The Soviet Union did everything to prevent the conflict. That is all. And it offered all the European powers to conclude an alliance against the aggressive regime of Germany, against the Nazi regime. But they all evaded it. And they were the first to conclude agreements with Hitler. In 1938, who concluded an agreement? They did, the Westerners. France, Great Britain. The Prime Minister of Great Britain arrived in London, got off the plane, started waving that pact and shouting, "I have secured peace." But true, there were sensible people. In Great Britain they said, well, now war is inevitable. And that is exactly how it turned out. Then they went against the Soviet Union, and immediately, right then, in those very same days, fascist Germany began accusing the Soviet Union, saying that it was almost the Soviet Union that had attacked. That it was almost the Soviet Union preparing an attack. Nonsense. And now they clearly, whoever came from the front knows. Our guys are pressing them along all sections of the line of combat contact. Along all of them. There is not a single place where it is the other way around. None. So, these drones, strikes on civilian infrastructure, what are they for? Well, to shake up society. Of course, under such massive pressure, when the entire West is working for them, these drones are coming in a huge stream to create some kind of uncertainty in the actions of the Russian armed forces. And what is happening at the front, they put outside the brackets, as it were. But our guys are pounding them there every day. Every single day. We will get where we need to go. I have no doubt. There are no such doubts. Appeals do not create prerequisites. What do they amount to? To creating some kind of conflict potential, on the contrary. So he sent this piece of paper. They are constantly talking about it. We want personalities, we also want personalities. So what? And then 3 days later, a strike on Starobilsk? How is that to be understood? How is that to be understood? Well, what kind of prerequisites are there here for personal meetings and negotiations? And then, well, you probably know, and if not, I will say it. Their understanding of the line of combat contact is also very different. Our guys are now practically finishing off Konstantinovka. Well, someone is still sitting in basements there, hiding, shooting back. They say this is a gray zone. Well, a wonderful gray zone. We told them back in 22, let us say, leave Donbass. People do not want to live with you. They held a referendum, they declared their own state a sovereign one, in full accordance with the Charter of the United Nations. The first article of the UN Charter states, every people has the right to self-determination. Thank you.